Welcome to the deep dive. Ever think about the hidden power of your own mind? You know, those feelings, intuitions, things happening just below the surface.
Mm, that subconscious layer.
Exactly. So today, we're diving into two really fascinating concepts, hypnosis and subliminal perception. They get a lot of hype, right?
Oh, definitely. Lots of mystery, lots of pop culture takes.
Our mission then is to sort of cut through that noise, see what history and actual science tell us about how these things really work.
And we've got some great material to do that. A 1995 research paper, Hypnotic Suggestion Response to Subliminal Auditory Cues. Really interesting modern stuff.
Okay.
And pairing that with a classic from way back in 1901, Hypnotism by Albert Moll, gives us this amazing historical depth.
A whole century of thinking. I like it. So, okay, before we jump into hypnosis or subliminal messages themselves, where does this stuff supposedly happen? The unconscious mind.
Right, and that term itself, well, it's complicated. It's not just one simple thing.
Yeah, the 1995 source points that out, doesn't it? All those different words.
Exactly. You see implicit, non-conscious, subconscious, preconscious, subceptions, that awareness, all trying to grab at the same idea.
So many labels.
Yeah, and White, a researcher quoted in the paper, said back in '78, the problem isn't that they're ambiguous, it's that we do not yet know the right definitions to use.
Huh. Makes sense.
The 95 study sort of settles on non-conscious as a good umbrella term. And it talked about two big ways of thinking about it. You've got the dynamic unconscious, think Freud, hidden drives, that kind of thing. And then the cognitive unconscious, which is more about an adaptive system. It automatically organizes things, guides behavior, often without us realizing.
Okay, so basically all the mental gears turning behind the scenes. Stuff we register but don't focus on, or maybe things we can't even describe.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. The mind's operating system running in the background.
All right, so we've got this landscape, this non-conscious realm. Let's talk hypnosis. I mean, mention hypnosis and people think.
Stage shows. Pocket watches. Clucking like a chicken.
Exactly, but the sources paint a much richer picture, right? More complex.
Much more. The 95 paper defines it pretty carefully. It's a psychophysiological state, so mind and body of aroused, attentive, receptive, focused concentration.
Okay, focused.
Yeah, really focused, but with less awareness of things on the periphery, and crucially, heightened suggestibility. You're more open to suggestions.
So not just zoned out, but zoned in.
Precisely. And this isn't new. Moll, writing in 1901, traces it back thousands of years.
Really? Like what?
Well, he mentions Egyptian medicine, using laying of hands, Persian magi, Indian yogis and fakirs, using things like fixation to the gaze to get into similar states.
Wow. Okay, so ancient roots.
Yeah.
And then modern hypnotism kicks off with...
John Braid, generally credited around 1843, he actually coined the term hypnotism.
Right. And he used it for, I read this, painless surgery.
He did, which, back then was absolutely astonishing. A huge deal before chemical anesthesia became widespread.
Incredible. But even then, people didn't all agree on what it was, did they? Moll talks about different schools.
Right, you had these two main camps in the late 19th century. First, the Nancy School, Liebeau, Bernheim. They were all about suggestion. Therapeutics of suggestion, mostly verbal.
So the power of words.
Exactly. They thought it was mainly psychological, driven by expectation and what you told the person. Then you had Charcot's Salpêtrière school in Paris.
Okay.
They focused more on physical states, especially in patients they termed histoepileptics. Charcot proposed these three stages, cataleptic, lethargic, somnambulic. Very distinct physical phases.
But Moll wasn't totally convinced by Charcot's stages.
No, he was quite skeptical.
Yeah.
He suggested they might be an artificial product, something created by the experimental situation, maybe by the suggestions themselves, rather than a universal natural process. It shows that early debate, physical state or psychological phenomena.
Fascinating. So given these different ideas, how do you actually induce hypnosis? What are the methods?
Moll lays out a few. He talks about mental methods, like getting someone to really focus their attention, then a sudden command sleep, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And autohypnosis, self-induced states, especially if someone's done it before. But he also describes physical methods.
Like the pocket watch.
Well, more like stimuli for sight, hearing, or touch. So yeah, maybe a fixed gaze on an object, or monotonous sounds. He even mentions a magic drum among the laps.
A magic drum.
Yeah. Or even just quiet and darkness, reducing external stimuli. But here's the kicker, Moll's insight.
What's that?
He argues most of these physical methods don't work just because of the physical stimulus itself. They work because the person expects them to. They have a mental image, conscious or unconscious, of what hypnosis is supposed to feel like.
Ah, so expectation is huge. That makes sense. Which leads to the question, who's more susceptible? Is there a type?
The 1995 paper sheds light on that. They link it to traits like absorption, getting really drawn into things, a capacity for vivid imagery, and being prone to fantasy.
Daydreamers, maybe?
Could be part of it, yeah. Interestingly, they say ages 9 to 14 seem to be the prime susceptibility period.
Kids. Huh.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're not highly susceptible at first, there's this thing called plateau hypnotizability. Your responsiveness can actually increase maybe 15–20% after a few sessions, perhaps as you get less anxious or clear up misconceptions.
Okay, so you can sort of learn to respond better. Now, once someone is in that state, what can actually happen? You said it's more than chickens?
Oh, much more. Moll describes some really dramatic effects. Let's start with sensory changes. You can decrease sensation.
Like pain.
Yes, analgesia, lack of pain. Moll says complete absence is rare, but a decrease of sensitiveness to pain is common. He gives other examples too, like suggesting someone standing on ice.
And they'd feel cold.
They'd start trembling, teeth chattering, or suggesting a cold bath could produce actual goose skin. But you can also induce pain through suggestion.
Wow. And what about seeing things? Not seeing things.
Right. Negative hallucinations.
Yeah.
He describes telling someone there are only 9 sheets of paper when there are 10. And they genuinely seem unable to perceive the 10th one, even picking out the others correctly.
That's specific. And the opposite, heightened senses?
That's hyperesthesia. Moll says it's rarer, but mentions hypnotized individuals, even blindfolded, being able to recognize objects by the resistance of the air. Sense is becoming incredibly delicate.
Okay, that's borderline unbelievable. What about memory?
Big effects there, too. Hypermnesia, enhanced recall. Moll gives this amazing example of an English officer in Africa who, under hypnosis, recalled Welsh, a language he learned as a kid but had totally forgotten.
No way.
Yeah, and recalling forgotten dreams, too. But then there's the flip side. Retroactive hallucinations, basically implanting false memories.
Creating memories. How?
Moll gives an example. Suggest, you remember we went to Potsdam yesterday, and the subject just starts describing this trip that never happened, filling in details. And these fake memories can even carry over into their waking state.
That's slightly disturbing.
It definitely raises questions. And then there's amnesia, making someone forget things. Whole periods, like one case, Mr. X, forgetting everything since he was 30.
Just gone.
Seemingly wiped from conscious recall, yes.
Okay, sensory changes, memory manipulation.
What about physical body stuff? You mentioned psychophysiological earlier.
Right, and Moll reports some truly astonishing claims from his time, like Kraft-Ebing apparently being able to produce specific body temperatures on demand through suggestion.
Raising or lowering temperature just by suggesting it.
According to the reports, more sites, yes. Also, inducing or stopping menstruation menorrhagia, and even reports from Forel about producing actual skin reactions like bleeding of the skin or little pustules of pus just through suggestion.
Okay, hold on. Blisters from suggestion, that seems extreme. How reliable were these observations? That's the crucial question. And Moll himself was very cautious. He was trying to be scientific, but acknowledged how easily suggestion, expectation, or even unintentional cues from the experimenter could influence results. He wanted to separate verifiable facts from, as he put it, marvel-mongering.
Which leads perfectly to the next point. With claims this wild, how did someone like Moll, even back then, try to tell genuine effects from faking or just suggestibility?
He was very pragmatic about it. He knew lying and fraud are possible even in deep hypnosis, no question.
Right.
But he felt an experienced experimenter could get a sense of authenticity by looking at the whole picture, summing up the different symptoms and comparing their relation to each other. Does it all fit together consistently?
I see, like a clinical judgment.
Exactly. Though he did admit that finding objective, measurable physical signs was more seldom found in hypnosis than in mental diseases. It's primarily a mental state, which makes concrete proof tricky sometimes.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly from hypnosis to the subliminal. Another word that gets thrown around a lot, especially with advertising, self-help tapes. What does it actually mean for something to be subliminal?
The 1995 paper defines it simply: processing stimuli that are too weak in intensity to be consciously perceived. Your senses pick it up, but it doesn't cross the threshold into your awareness.
Below the limit of perception. And can it actually do anything?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. The paper states that many investigators found subliminal stimuli can have a greater impact than stimuli you're aware of.
Yeah.
Supraliminal.
Greater. How?
It seems especially true in areas like subliminal mirror exposure. Just being exposed to something below awareness can make you like it more later. And in psychodynamic research, tapping into deeper emotional stuff.
Fascinating. So how do you even make a message like that, especially an audio one? You want it heard, but not heard.
Right, it's tricky. The 95 study talks about how they crafted their audio cues. They found that using multiple related words or phrases worked better than just single words.
Okay, longer messages.
Yeah, often short phrases or words of emotionally relevant material. Then you have to mask them.
Mask them, like hide them in other sounds.
Exactly. They use things like white noise, pink noise, or ocean surf to embed the messages. Interestingly, they mention that subliminal white noise itself might actually enhance performance in some situations, unless relaxation is the goal.
Huh. But it sounds like getting the level right is tough.
Very tough. The paper highlights a lack of standardization as a major issue. How intense should the stimulus be? It varies. Even in their own study, they found the baseline hearing thresholds of their subjects were about 5 decibels higher than expected.
Meaning it was harder to find that just below awareness level for them?
Potentially, yes. It just underlines how difficult, precise, individualized delivery really is.
Which brings us right to the heart of that 1995 study. They wanted to see if you could combine hypnosis and subliminal messages. Like, would that give an extra boost?
That was the big question, exploring the intersection of these two techniques. There were some earlier hints that hypnosis might enhance subliminal effects, at least for people who are highly hypnotizable.
So what did they do? How did they test it?
They had 3 groups. One got just the subliminal messages, one got hypnosis plus the subliminal messages, and a control group got neither. The messages were things like improved hearing, cross your legs, choose the green one, and look behind you. All masked, of course.
Okay, makes sense. And the results? Did hypnosis supercharge the subliminal effect?
Surprisingly, no. It was actually contrary to the expectations of the PI, the primary investigator.
Really? What happened?
Well, both groups that got subliminal messages did tend to choose the green pen more often than the control group, so the subliminal suggestion seemed to work on its own to some extent.
Okay.
But adding hypnosis didn't make that effect stronger. In fact, the conclusion was that adding hypnosis does not appear to have potentiated subliminal effects, but in fact may have attenuated or confounded them.
Weakened them, or just muddied the waters.
Yeah, possibly complicated things rather than amplifying them. It wasn't a simple 1 + 1 = 2 situation.
But wait, wasn't there something about hypnotic susceptibility? Did that play a role?
Ah, yes, good point. While overall potentiation wasn't found, they did find a significant link between how hypnotizable someone was and their response specifically to the green pen selection suggestion. Highly susceptible people responded differently.
So it's more nuanced, not a simple boost, but maybe a different kind of interaction depending on the person.
Exactly. And another interesting bit, the only statistically significant cognitive response they found was people being better able to identify the subliminally presented sentences later from a list, which supports the idea that longer auditory cues, those phrases, can be processed below awareness.
So the big takeaway seems to be that the mind's complex. Just throwing 2 powerful techniques together doesn't automatically mean a bigger effect. Why might that be, do they think?
They mentioned several challenges. We already talked about the difficulty of precisely delivering the subliminal stimuli.
Right, hitting that sweet spot.
Yeah, and potential noise interruptions. Also, some of the ways they measured the effects might have had issues. Like, they found women cross their legs more often at baseline anyway, which complicates using that as a measure of suggestion response.
Ah, okay, so lots of variables. It highlights how tricky this research is.
Absolutely, it really underscores the complexity.
Moving beyond the lab then, how have these ideas, hypnosis, suggestion, been applied or thought about in the real world? Let's go back to Moll for some history here.
Well, Moll strongly believed in the therapeutic power of suggestion. He said, suggestive treatment is as old as disease. The core idea was to instill the idea of a cure during hypnosis.
And he credited the Nancy School for really systemizing that.
Yes, Liebo and Bernheim. Moll lists a huge range of conditions they tried to treat. Nervous skin issues, things we now see as psychological, like sexual perversion, writer's cramp, phobias like agoraphobia, stuttering, even claiming important functional improvements in organic diseases, like pain relief in Taves dorsalis, a spinal cord condition.
That's a wide net. And surgery, too, historically.
Right, he recounts those early uses by Esselstyn and Braid for painless surgical operations. even childbirth in magnetic sleep. He acknowledged chemical anesthetics were the norm by 1901, but still saw a place for hypnosis if those were too risky for a patient.
Makes sense. But with this power to influence comes, well, potential problems, right? Legal stuff, ethical questions.
Moll was definitely thinking about that. He discusses crimes committed on hypnotized people, assaults, for instance. And he considers the possibility, though he thought it rare, of crimes being committed by someone hypnotized, especially if they were made to believe they were acting freely.
That's the classic Manchurian candidate idea, almost.
Sort of, yeah. And using it in court. People explored using hypnosis to test if a witness was easily suggestible or maybe to recover forgotten memories.
But Moll was cautious about that.
Very cautious. He stressed that a statement made in hypnosis must be received with caution. It might be an indication, but not a proof. False memories were a real concern.
So safeguards were needed.
Definitely. He argued only doctors should be allowed to hypnotize, ideally with witnesses present. And crucially, that suggestions should be carefully removed afterwards to avoid negative lingering effects.
Looking at the bigger picture, then, it feels like understanding hypnosis and suggestion has always involved pushing back against, well, hype on one side and total disbelief on the other.
Absolutely. Moll himself fought battles against critics who said suggestion wasn't proper medical treatment. He fired back that medicine got plenty of remedies from crude empiricism initially.
Point.
He really championed the psychological side, saying it's at least of as much importance as what we call medical art and science. And he actively worked to debunk things like animal magnetism or supernatural claims.
How did he explain those?
He attributed them to things like unconscious and unintentional suggestion, outright simulation or fraud sometimes, or a genuinely heightened senses hyperesthesia in the subject being misinterpreted. He believed the latest hypnotic experiments explain in a natural way much that has been called strange and supernatural.
Trying to bring it into the realm of science.
Exactly.
So what a journey. From ancient practices through those early scientific clashes Moll described, right up to that controlled 95 experiment trying to combine hypnosis and subliminal cues. We've seen how suggestion works, the amazing things the mind seems capable of under hypnosis, and those subtle nudges from subliminal input.
Yeah, and it seems clear, as the 1995 paper suggests, that subliminal effects are far-reaching and hold considerable potential. But it also honestly admits that many basic questions are just beginning to be elaborated. There's still so much work needed, especially on standardizing how we even study these things.
Which leaves us with a final thought, really. Given how influenceable our minds seem to be direct suggestions, those quiet subliminal whispers, even just our own expectations, how much of your everyday experience, what you believe in this moment, how you react, how much of that is shaped by forces you're not even aware of? What might you be filtering out, not seeing, not hearing, just because your non-conscious mind has been nudged or suggested in a certain direction? Something to think about. The next time you have a sudden urge or make a choice that surprises you, maybe pause. Is it really just you? Or is it a little whisper from your own deep dive?